Okay. Hi guys, hoping that this is going to work. I'm so sorry. I have literally less than, wow, I'm having a moment today. Okay, station 7. We're going to work on this. Hey everybody. Let me get this. Hopefully. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is going to work. If you guys, okay, it looks like some people are coming back in. Hi everybody. I am so sorry. We're going to focus in and do station 7. I have no idea. I seem to be, I seem to have some spiritual things going on here today. It's just all I'm going to say because, oh my gosh. So last night I was laying in bed. So I'm not a physical medium. I'm not a medium. I'm a physical intuitive for sure. I can, obviously read other people's energy and what's going on physically for them as far as like medical intuition. But I do have some abilities towards spirits tend to try to find me sometimes for some help. And I seem to have somebody who really needs help like crossing or is really trying to get my attention last night and today. So while people are coming back in, let me also send a note I'll continue to tell the story because it's kind of funny and crazy. Hi, we are back on Zoom. Come on over there if you like. Apologize for the glitch we are going. All right, I post that. Hopefully this stays up now. Oh my goodness, what a glitch. Okay, all right, we are back on Zoom now. Come on back in. Really sorry. All right, not much I could do about that, unfortunately. Good Lord, what a thing. Good morning, Joan. I'm sorry for the glitches this morning, you guys. Wow. Thank you for sticking with me. Not literally nothing I could do about it. I have no idea. My internet was completely fine. I walked into my office, went to light my candle. Everything was fine, breathing, connecting as I always do. I try to imagine that I'm connected with you guys before we get on. Everything was cool and the internet decided to glitch on me. So I'm so sorry, you guys. Thank you for sticking it out. We will probably have to run a few minutes long today because we do have a bit to get through in station 7. I know like Donna and I think Joan, I think a few people were really interested in station 7. So I want to do a deep dive on this one. It's also one that helps you in general. And it is an ironic thing, as I was just saying as we got on, I sometimes seem to attract spirits that need a little bit of help. And last night at about 10 o'clock, I started hearing what sounded like somebody walking. We have wood floors outside of the bedroom. Hi, Donna. Thank you for being here. I'm so sorry about this glitch. I was just explaining. So I tend to attract some spirits sometimes, and I don't get into it. I use my intuitive abilities for like this work, helping you guys, and for my healing work where I help people to translate what's going on in their body and what's off in their life and their mind. So I choose not to use my intuitive abilities that way. But since I was a little kid, I've always seen spirit. I'm aware of them being around. My daughter is the same way, which is crazy. And I seem to have somebody who really needs help right now and is trying to make quite a lot of noise about it. So I will be having to help them a little later. I have a really busy day today of clients and my practitioner certification today. But anyways, long story short, about 10 o'clock last night, I started hearing somebody walking around on our wood floor, which is right outside my bedroom. So I popped up, I'm looking out, I'm trying to figure out, I get back in, I can still hear rustling. And I'm like, all right, I know you're here. Just like, I'll help you tomorrow. I need to get some sleep. And then all of a sudden, we have a Google Nest thermostat and it started to flash. And then all of a sudden it had an error and just completely like I've never seen it. Just had this error all night. And I tried to fix it and I couldn't fix it. Got up this morning. My husband's trying to fix it. And so, anyways, I seem to have a ghost in the machine here today. And I'm getting up here. And this is usually what happens when I have that kind of stuff going on. So without further ado, let's talk about station 7. I don't know if does anybody else attract spirits that you're aware of? A lot of times if you're an empath or an intuitive person, you just do. we're kind of like lights, and they, a person who maybe has passed over and needs some help will kind of look for us. And so apparently I got a little somebody attached. So if you see anything behind me while I'm talking today, let me know. All right. So today we are talking station 7. That is our higher power. That is our connection with sort of the web of life. Okay. Feeling connected to the web of life, feeling that we have an easy flow of connection of, our desires going out and other things coming back to us. It has to do with, so if you are dealing with issues in station 7, a lot of times what I will see is all over the body fatigue that doesn't have any kind of physical cause. So maybe you've gone to the doctor a zillion times and the doctor's like, yeah, I have no idea. Like there's nothing wrong with you. But you have that all over the body feeling of exhaustion and fatigue. I will see people with all over the body systemic issues. So a lot of the people that I deal with station 7 issues, they'll present with like MS, or Parkinson's, or all over the body cardiovascular issues. So all over the body neurological issues, all over the body skin issues. I forgot to put that in the little thing. Skin issues, so something that's like all over your body skin wise. So the skin, of course, is not only our it's sort of our shield to the outside world, but it also kind of encases our spirit in some ways, right? And so when we have these all over the body skin issues, I know that that person is feeling like they are not safe in the world in general. Like there's like the world is against them. And depending on how it's presenting, oh God, kid you not, something just touched my foot. How it's presenting, it will show me exactly what's going on. So if there's like a lot of redness to the skin, that'll show me there's a lot of anger at how the world is coming at that person. If it's something like a psoriasis where there's something scaly going on, then I know that person is literally trying to create a shield against the way that the world is coming at them. So they're almost getting crusty against the world. Okay. So that tends to be our station 7 stuff. I will glance at the book just so that I can tell you exactly where this is in the book. If you need that, I had the book pulled up with all my technological stuff going on today. Okay. So that's what we're looking at in terms of those things. Also, I should say, you might get that feeling of being totally burned out. So especially if you happen to be an empath and you're too open all the time, so you're literally picking up all these like radio signals of everything going on all over the place. I was actually just helping somebody whose little kid is so overwhelmed on the bus, and he's definitely an empath. And so I was explaining to her, it's like if you had like 40 radio signals playing at you at once, right? You'd feel pretty annoyed and overwhelmed too, right? If it was all these different, like, death metal and talk radio and, political radio and rock stations, like all playing at one time, you'd be pretty annoyed too, and pretty overwhelmed. Okay. Also, things like with the top of the head, scalp and hair, that kind of stuff can all be stuff. You also might have that feeling of just being dissatisfied, like nothing is matching you whatsoever. So that one can be. So you know what, we're going to start there. We're going to talk about that one first. It's a little bit further in the book, but I'm going to talk about that one first. So a lot of times as we're changing things in our life, we can go through this period where, as I call it, it could be a breakdown or a breakthrough. We're not sure which one it is. It can feel super overwhelming. This can be very true as you are doing like this work within the Manifest Your Dream Life Academy. You may have some times where all of a sudden nothing seems to fit you anymore. You feel really, really off. Nothing like the things you used to love, you don't love anymore. And you're like, who am I? Where do I fit in this world? What's going on? It can feel like you're having a breakdown, like there's a complete breakdown, right? Here's the thing. One of the ways to be able to tell if you're having a breakdown versus a breakdown that's leading to the breakthrough, or you're going through a breakthrough, is to actually ask yourself, have you been doing some work to change underlying patterns and programming? Have you been doing the work? Have you been sitting down and doing the exercises and the journal things and All these things we've been talking about. Have you been actively working on changing yourself internally from the inside out? If you are actively doing that work, then what seems like a breakdown is actually because the frequency of you is now like a tuning fork tuning into something very different. And inherently, what happens is the things that were okay for you at the level you were at are no longer meshing or matching. The things you loved at the level you were at are no longer things that make sense to you to enjoy doing or to be interested in. Okay. And so unfortunately, part of the process, especially in station 7, of actually up leveling and going to this next place where you really are aligned with what you desire, is this process of things breaking down, of things leaving, of things shifting. And we kind of talked about it in station 6, where we have to be able to have enough detachment to say, okay, all right, if those things need to leave, they need to leave, and it's okay, right? And so that's where it can be a little bit difficult. So if you are going through some of that kind of process and it is feeling super overwhelming to you, a good place to start is to sit down and actually kind of journal out how you're feeling. Take a moment to take a look at the things that are starting to feel incongruous with you. Okay. And the things that you'll no longer settle for, right? Maybe before you had relationships where they weren't perfect, but you were like, well, I'll put up with it, right? I'll deal with it. You're just used to maybe the way that was going. Okay. But if you're working on shifting those things, suddenly those things that felt like, they were okay. They were like the pants that are slightly too tight, but you'll put them on and they look okay, right? You can deal with that little bit of irritation all the time. Suddenly they become like wool pants. I don't know if anybody else is, I'm a child of the, sort of late 70s and 80s. And like wool pants were like a thing in the 80s, I think. I don't know if anybody else's mom used to get the wool. Oh my God, the wool pants. And being a highly sensitive person. So sometimes where those like things that were, a little bit uncomfortable for you suddenly become like the wool pants. Like I cannot deal with them anymore. Like these have got to go. And so that can feel really bad as you're going through that. Okay. So just know that that is part of the process. Sometimes you'll feel like that. We'll touch on that again, but I kind of wanted, since that kind of popped out, I kind of wanted to start with that. So the first thing we want to do in station 7 is to think about what we've talked about in the science part of the principles, right? And what we have learned in the science part of the principles is that you have the power, and indeed the entirety of whatever higher power you believe in, contained within you. You can inherently co-create by aligning with the highest value. Well, even not the highest values, you co-create regardless, but we're choosing to align with the highest values to co-create the life that is popping into being around you. And in so doing, with the highest frequencies, you're shifting that entire thing. So one thing that sometimes we talk about enlightenment, right? We talk about, like, oh, I want to be enlightened. You see, so many stories of, famous people that, are worshipped as gods. So, like Buddha, like Jesus, like Allah, right? These are, and what they talk about over and over again is that these people did all these things and became enlightened. So when I talk about enlightenment, I'm saying that I want you to connect to the reality that you are one with the source, and that you are now intentionally using that source power to create moments that flow with the highest possible frequencies, okay? You are literally, by doing that, lightening the load of negative expectations and turning them into pure energy and letting them go, which in fact enlightens you, right? We no longer, when we truly connect with our source power, with a higher power, with trusting our own connection to the source, that it's within us and not somewhere separate, we feel lighter. Can anybody, I don't know if you've had experiences and moments in life, and I hope you have, where you've had that moment of just seemingly everything lifting off you, and you are suddenly feeling like you are connected to the highest frequencies. Everything's in the flow for you. If any of you guys had those, you've had fleeting moments like that, Donna. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And I think in you, Joan, Mia, I know. And so what we're doing in station 7, and indeed the entirety of this work, is to allow this to be your norm. Okay. My wish for you is that you live from an enlightened place as much as is humanly possible. And that, again, to go back to station 4, we're never shutting down the more difficult emotions in life. And in fact, even moving through those difficult emotions can be a place of enlightenment when we choose to bring that awareness to it. But what I'd love for you guys every day is to feel connected to that lighter sense of higher power, that you are one with all that is, and that you are actively, you're not just a participant in your life, you're actively co-creating. Okay. So now I want you to think about that. That's one thing I want you to do today. And from today forward is to think about, how can you be enlightened? How can you connect more deeply with the source power within you? Okay. How can you, as you move through moment by moment in your life, when you shift your awareness to the fact that literally everything you're going through is in some way being co-created with you, by you, with the collective unconscious, with the source power, everything changes. Okay. When you come at it from that place of active participant in your own reality and observer of how that's playing out, you can stay in a much more centered state. You don't get as triggered by things outside of you. When you do feel triggered, you can bring that awareness to it and shift and sort of calm that trigger a lot more quickly, right? So I want you to ponder, and maybe today to journal, when were these fleeting moments that you had some sense of this enlightenment, sense of connection to all that is, sense of your own creative power, co-creative power, right? How does that look like? And then after that, to pay attention throughout the day on these moments of connection, on these moments of, how can I in this moment use my internal power to connect with the source in such a way that I'm shifting the way this whole situation is tuning. I promise you, when you bring your awareness there, you can change moments over and over and over again. We talked in station 2 about retuning our relationships. And by doing that, like slowing down your breath, bringing your breath in tune with the other people in the room, and then shifting it to literally sending out love, peace, joy. You can do the same thing tuning into source power in any moment. I do it a lot, honestly, when I'm walking up to order coffee, which I do frequently, to like literally send out love, peace, joy to the barista, to the people around me, to the people in line behind me. Okay. Taking that moment to realign yourself over and over again with your own source power will literally change everything. It will change your interactions. If you tend to have, I had one client, actually, she's now through, but she was a certification participant practitioner. She's now a practitioner. She had this, like, I've never seen someone have so much conflict when they went out in the world. And there was just some like core beliefs that were causing that problem from station 2 and station 3. And so we started doing that with her, like shifting that over and over and over and over again. And everything changed, right? All right, so let's move on to, I see it in waves rippling out from me. Yeah, Joan, me too. Me too. That's the exact image. I literally imagine my daughter so we go hiking a lot. Living in Colorado, there's lots of beautiful hiking. So, and oftentimes these gorgeous mountain springs or even mountain lakes. We just went to this, it was called Dream Lake. It literally is a dream. It's absolutely beautiful. Excuse me. But my daughter likes to, throw a rock out and watch the ripples go out. And I've talked to her so many times about how our thoughts and our actions are literally like the rock. We ripple. When we do those things, we literally have an impact on everything immediately. Even if we don't see it, it's the wave energy going out. And that's the image I get of me, like sort of being the rock in the middle that's just been tossed into the pond. And I'm sort of causing that wave interference pattern to go rippling out. So I love that image. Thank you for sharing that with me. Okay. One thing we have to reckon with as we are learning to use this power for ourselves is how much we've been trained to believe that there has to be something between ourselves and whatever higher power you believe in. Okay. So as humans, we've created so many walls and systems that are like, you have to listen to this leader, you have to be part of this church or this program. And if you are doing that, a dove just went over the house, like a white dove just went over. Oh, there goes another one. I've never seen two white doves at once. So apparently, this is some enlightening stuff right here. So we have been taught so often that we have to believe in systems outside ourselves in order to connect with a higher power. And one of the things I see a lot in Station 7 is when people have been brought up in very restrictive or difficult religious traditions or systems, that the retraining themselves to believe that they have access to a higher power, whatever they call it, within themselves, and that they in fact are in connection at all times with that higher power, can be very difficult. And they end up not trusting themselves to be able to have that direct connection, right? Because there are people, and I don't know if anybody else has either grown up this way or has that experience. There are actually people in my life like this, and they are in religious organizations where the only one who truly understands the religious text, which is the gateway to God, to a higher power, is the leader or the elders in that thing. And so they hold this sacred knowledge, and everyone that goes to church has to just go and listen to them. And this is in thousands of different ways. I just had somebody send me something that was like this lady who's like reading solar flares or something. And I just want you to, and she's like the only one who can read the solar flares in the way that it's actually impacting the earth, and you can pay her for this knowledge. And I was like, oh man, that's no different than any cult or religious organization that is disconnecting people from their own awareness, right? We've been told that we can't truly understand God, higher power, Allah, goddess, whatever. We've been told we can't understand it. We've been told, in medieval times, they made sure that the medieval people couldn't read because they didn't want them to be able to actually read the Bible, because if they did, then they would have some level of their own understanding, and then the priests and the hierarchy maybe wouldn't be as powerful. Okay. So literally it is ingrained in us as humans to believe we have to have some go-between. We have to have some, in between person to be able to truly understand the highest, most pure things about God and the source. Okay. When we then reconnect with the truth that we are our own guidepost, each of us is our own person, our own energy that gets to decide how do we connect with a higher power and how do we use that higher power. It's a radical change. It can be really, really difficult if you came up in those kinds of environments. I do a lot of work with clients who came up with those environments that were unfortunately very harmed. They weren't positive. There's positive ones out there for sure. But the truth is, when we connect in with our own instinct and inner guidance and our inner understanding of the source, you know what's higher energy and lower energy. You know what's good or bad, right? You know what your sense of the source is. And I encourage you to sit down and literally write out, what do you believe of a higher power? What do you believe is the source? Because whatever you believe the source is, right? Because we are co-creating that. Okay. Everything I need is in, oh, I love this. Donna, thank you. Everything I need is within me. This is my mantra over and over when I get scattered. Ooh, Donna, if you can, please also post that in the group. Fantastic. Love it. That's the mantra. That is the mantra of Station 7. Thank you. That is the mantra. Yes. Everything I need is within me. I also like the everything I desire also desires me, which is a little bit different, but it's that kind of an idea. But everything I need is already within me. Love it. Okay. That's the mantra, you guys. So I encourage you to decide for yourself to research everything you can about about the divine. What you seek is seeking you is another favorite. Yes, 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 yes. We're gonna please put those up in the group when you get a chance, or I will put them up there. I love it. Okay, so I want you to choose today to seek your own truth of whatever the source is. Okay, I'm giving you this system, right? The manifest your dream life, the flow method. This is a system, and it's within that system you retain your own belief system. You retain your sense of knowledge. You retain how you want things to play out. Okay. I always want people to question me. I love skeptics. Like Friday, I'm doing another 1 minute healing where I will translate as many people's pain and disease as I can and give them their translation and get them on the path to healing. And sometimes I get skeptics on there. I love skeptics. I've done live events, big, huge live events with skeptics in the room. I love it. Be a skeptic. I love it because that means you're keeping this on and you're trying to decide what is truth. Okay. And that's really, really important. So this is just something that, excuse me, is really important because the more people that trusted their own inner wisdom and the more people who questioned things in a reasonable way and took their own power and truly understood their own connection to the source, honestly, we can create a better world just by that. Just by that. So, in order to genuinely, no matter what you seek, and honestly pick up every writing you can, I love reading so many different perspectives on things, but there is one truth that is always going to come out. The source is inherently unconditional love. Okay? You can look at all kinds of things. It's unconditional love. And there's no love only if you do this, you follow this system, or if you are in part of this program, or if you do listen to this person, or if you listen to me. There's no love only if for anything. You're unconditionally loved. The desire is for you to thrive, no matter who you are right at this moment, no matter what. Like, we didn't come into this world without having that sense of connection and perfection within ourselves. Okay. And unfortunately, we have to relearn it because we've unlearned it so many different ways in our life from so many different authorities. Okay. So whatever it is, reflect that back to you. Now, if this is something that you want to dig into really well, let me look back over on the book. 428, 7-ish. And 429 is where it starts to have some nice questions and journal questions. Okay. Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about, and then let me think, tomorrow we are going to, tomorrow we're going to talk about blind faith and how to literally inhabit what you desire. And finally, we're going to go through a really powerful practice tomorrow on finding your life purpose. So that is like one of my favorite ones to do. Yeah, so we're going to do soul purpose, life purpose tomorrow, which I cannot wait for. Let me see. Okay, and peace. All right, so for today, I know we're running quite long and I apologize for that this morning. Let me see. I guess let's talk about really quickly. I want to talk about free will. Do I want to talk about free will? Yeah, let's talk about free will really quickly. Okay, so finally, and we'll just tack this on to what we just talked about. Oftentimes, different traditions talk about free will in certain ways. For us, the definition of free will is simply this: that you have the choice to use your co-creative power however you want. Okay. And this is going to be a hot take, and not everybody's going to agree with this, but I see so many people that are like relying on these external systems to tell them what their life is going to be, or they believe in things being fated, like astrology, which, hey, listen, I'm not saying, or numerology, which those things all have touchstones that can certainly give you guide points to what might be influences, or like these solar flares and other things. Okay. There's a lot of things that are influencing us all the time. But if we put our power outside ourselves for any of those systems, like, okay, it's going, whatever it is, Mercury is going into retrograde. And then we instantly believe like bleep is going to hit the fan, all the communications are going to blow up, blah, 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 blah. What's going to probably happen? Right? Probably all our communications are going to go bad and everything is going to blow up. Right? So we can't, and I do this all the time with my practitioner students. There's so many systems out there and they're awesome. You can use those systems in any way you want to kind of help you guide your life. But we were not brought into this world to live some sort of absolutely perfectly fated life, right? We weren't. No matter what you're like, I'm technically a Capricorn, but I was supposed to be born in Sagittarius. I was born 4 weeks late. So apparently I wanted to marinate a bit longer. I'm not sure. But so when I read Capricorn and Sagittarius, like it doesn't really actually apply to me that much. But I think if once we like give any of those powers to like, oh, it's this day. So because it's this day with like Friday the 13th, I'm going to do a training on Friday the 13th. And I was like, I looked at it for half a second. I thought, oh God, Friday the 13th. Then I was like, well, I mean, right. We can create all these things that can be these things outside ourselves. Right. And so within that though, it's always our personal free will to react to whatever external forces might be at play in our own unique ways. That's the definition of really free will. So, regardless of what the stars might be telling you, or numerology, and I actually really like numerology personally, or really any other system, there's wisdom in all of those systems. But it's our free will how we choose to react. So, Mercury might go into retrograde, for instance. Does that mean that suddenly you have no co creative power and no free will to respond to the things outside yourself? No, you still retain your power to be able to respond to things, right? When we talk about really connecting with our source power, it literally means we can no longer look outside ourselves and go, oh, that's why everything's messing up. Like, this is it. That's why this is it. Instead, we have to say, okay, there are maybe these external things happening. What do I do now? What's my move? Right? That's free will. Okay. So I want you to think about, you never ever can look at anything, whether it's an injustice outside yourself or things that are happening in your life or the way the stars are aligning, and say, what can I do? Right? What you can do is reconnect with your source power in that moment and choose to align and send out those ripples of higher power, right? So whenever something bad happens in our life, we can't turn and be angry at these things externally. We can't, well, no, that's not true. You are allowed to be angry if stuff happens that's bad. Allowed to be angry, totally. But you can then say, okay, now what do I do? Now how can I shift this? Okay. So I kind of call that like radical self-responsibility, because no matter what, we always have a choice internally on how we respond. And that's our sense of free will. And when we have that sense of free will, then at all times, we can come back to fully trusting ourselves to be able to move through anything in our life that might be happening from a place of power. Okay. And I'm not saying that old triggers won't crop up, old fears might not show up. Sure, they will. And it's okay. That's completely human. That's part of being in our human bodies. But what I can say is that you can always shift back and say, now I have the free will to decide how I proceed, how I think, how I feel, how I act. And in doing so, I have the power to change something here. Okay, to realign something here. Hopefully this has been helpful for you today. Tomorrow, we're really going to get into a bunch of these different things, how to create peace in ourselves and in the world, your life purpose, soul purpose, which I love. So we're going to dedicate probably most of the time tomorrow to that. And we're going to talk about the concept of blind faith and how to use it to be able to align now with who you truly want. I will tell you, it's interesting because this Station 7 out of the entire book, and out of the entire program, but out of the entire book, Station 7, the entirety of Station 7 came to me at like 3 a.m. one morning when I was writing all of this. And it literally, it was the least edited part of the entire book. So it was very much my connection to source power for sure. And so, people talk about channeling and downloading and all that kind of stuff. This part was definitely downloaded in a very powerful way. And I barely touched it after it was downloaded. So All right. So that was for today. Thanks, Joan. I'm so glad. This is something, this is such a powerful part of us. If we can connect, truly connect to our own personal power in our own personal way of shaping and shifting things in life, we can change everything. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because not only will your life get better, but other people around you's life gets better. And now we start sending out that ripple that changes the world. And I am definitely on a mission for that. I have always, in fact, in college, I was actually given I was on my like student union, and I was given a Woman on a Mission award. And I think that's very true. I've always had a mission to change the world. I have felt it in my soul since I was a little kid. And this is just the way I'm choosing to do it. So if I can empower you to go out and change the world in your own ways, that's fantastic. All right. Sending you guys so much love. See you tomorrow for this. And I'm so excited about doing the soul purpose, life purpose. It's really powerful. I'm trying to think. I might change it so you guys can, I think you guys can ask to talk too on here, because I can help you work through some of the life purpose, soul purpose stuff. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll figure it out tomorrow. But thank you so much for being here. I apologize again for the major delay in getting things going this morning. I will try to figure out who has decided to be here and try to get my attention and see if I can help move them along. All right. Sending you guys love. See you tomorrow. Thanks for